Dead blood in the streets, it's up to my ankles. Feet blood in the streets, it's up to my knees. Feet blood in the street, the town of Chicago. Feet blood on the rise, it's following me. You're about to break, yeah. She came in and she drove away. Sunlight in her hair. She flooded the streets of the river sadness.
Go.
Whoa, 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 put on the brakes, put on the brakes. Welcome, welcome, boys and girls, children of all ages. Hoofties, poofties, bung-eyed heifers, right and left-wing wackos, woodchucks, and chuckettes, kings and queens of the Northeast Kingdom. To another version of It's News to Us, and Stinky Dogs too. Okay, Stinky Dog, get down. Go around, go around. You got your own camera over here, come here. Go around, over there. Go on. No, go over here. Go on. Get. To another version of It's News to Us. And you are watching It's News to Us. Thanks, Toddster. We got the boss in the booth today. We're Newport's oldest TV news watch. It's new. We had adult themes and adult language, but not really. We're kind of like, we don't need to cuss to get our point across. But we're the Bronze Age invisible sky god, because he's going to beat you and forgive you, beat you and forgive you, and beat you and maybe forgive you. And we're all inclusive here. We cater to men, women, men who think they're women, who dress like men, who act like women, who dress like men. All y'all are welcome here. And if you've got problems with senile agitation, that's right, you can take care of them instantly with Thorazines. And if that don't work, try a Thorazine suppository. It will calm your lame old butt down quickly. And it's a real ad, too. Thorazine for prompt control of senile agitation. Get away from me! I'm running for president, Senate, whatever. I'm glad to be here in North South Carolina, or Ohio, wherever the hell I am. Oh, man. We're going to start off with some local news today. You're going to love this one, Toddster, right?
No.
Well, first of all, here we are. Most early voters can't swift after departures. That's another thing with a vote by mail. Now, it makes me, when you see people like Buddy Giggity, record skipping, and Flau Blucher leave the race. I mean, on the night of Super Tuesday, it makes you wonder about the fix being in. You know what I mean? And down here we have the local news about the ice falling off the roof. But here's the thing. Have you ever seen that Michael Moore thing where he mentions the difference between liberals and conservatives, Todd?
I don't think I have.
Oh, wicked good. And here, I'll boil it down. Here it is in a nutshell. Now, this is he's going on about a liberal couple who want to go out to dinner somewhere, right? Mm. And they says, well, I don't know, where do you want to go? Oh, I don't know, where do you want to go? Well, let's go for Italian. I don't know, we went for Italian last time. Maybe we should go Chinese. I don't know if we want to go to Chinese. Maybe we should just go get a pizza. Oh, I don't know, it's up to you. Well, where's the car keys? I don't know, don't you have the car keys? I put them over there. Well, they're not here, aren't they over there? Now, that's the liberals. Here's the conservative. We're going out to dinner. All right, where are we going? In a steakhouse. Where's the car keys? They're on the rack right next to the door where they belong. Now get in the car and let's go. That's the difference. They said that something incredible, like 90% of the voters in the primaries last night did not make up their minds until the night of the 3 days before the election, or the night of the election itself. Whoa! I mean, talk about acid indecision. And on the green screen, I think we do.
I didn't hit play yet.
Yeah, I was wondering if this is still life.
There we go.
Yeah, this was. Thanks, Todd.
You get cheap help today.
Yeah. We sure pay him well. It's a prohibition video because this video was taken and surreptitiously recorded in here, and I can't implicate anybody in the studio because they didn't know what I was doing. I was in here one night working on I'd make DVDs from movie clips and stuff like that to run on the green screen. So I took the clandestine movie that I took on the camera, and I switched it from tape to a DVD, and I lost the damn thing actually for almost a year, and I found it last week when I was looking for my videos of my dog buddies. But anyways, we since Prohibition has been lifted, the folks at the studio here were gracious enough to blur out the faces so we wouldn't get anybody who might still be on probation in trouble. And this garden, you know where this garden was, Toddster?
Eden.
Huh?
Eden?
Close. It was in Jay, right? There's
That is close.
the J-Town Forest, right? They have a big parking lot, and you can walk up in there. And I'd bring my dogs up there to run them every now and then, but the place was so loaded with porcupines, I came back like 1 or 2, 3 times, and they had mouths full of porcupine quills. So anyways, what we'd do is we'd park at the J-Town Forest, and directly across the street, we'd scouted out this area where there was an old homestead and a foundation and a well and stuff like that. And we went in there with picks and shovels and implements of destruction, blew out a bunch of trenches and put in fertilizer and lime and everything. And we used that area for quite a while. And one time we were out there, you're going to love this one, Todd. My buddy, my neighbor, had a aluminum water bottle, right? And he lost it one time. He'd left it out there or forgot it or something. And so a couple weeks later, we come back, and he's all like, "Look, I found my water bottle. It's got holes in it. Somebody shot holes in it with a .22. And he's freaking out. "Oh, now they know where the area is. Now they're going to find the weed, and that's it for this area. Damn it, after all the work we did." I'm there, let me see that water bottle, right? And I looked at it, Toddster, and I says, "Look, these are not 22-hole bullet holes, man." I said, "These are teeth marks." It was chomped on by a bear, okay? You could see what the jaws, they'd grabbed this, and it's a heavy-duty aluminum bottles, you know, one with the screw tops that you use for hiking. I mean, some people even use it for, like, Coleman lantern fuel. It's a serious aluminum vessel. And the bear had bitten right into it, like, chomped down on it. But anyways, back to the local news.
Wow.
Let's see. Falling ice kills woman just after she discusses mortality. You're going to love this. This is from Hardwick, East Hardwick. A couple who had been married nearly 50 years just enjoyed a cocktail on their deck when they talked about their inevitable deaths. As they walked back inside their home, a piece of ice fell off the roof and fatally struck Linda Friedman Scherenberg, 73, in the back of the head, according to her daughter. She was knocked unconscious and fell into the snow face first, according to the Caledonian Record Tuesday. The paramedics worked to revive her for an hour and eventually determined even if she did wake up, she wouldn't have any cognitive function. Now, wait a minute. Is that really the job of the paramedics, Toddster? Wouldn't you want a doctor to determine whether you're going to be in a vegetative state or something? You know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
Do you really want a medic from the back of an ambulance, a lunch wagon, to tell you whether your loved one is going to make it or not? There's something wrong here.
It's either journalism or malpractice. Because it could just be bad journalism.
Yeah, that's true. And eventually determined that even if she did wake up, she wouldn't have cognitive function. In the porch conversation, Myers said her father told the old lady that he didn't know if he could live without her. Well, now he's got a chance to find out. Here's the thing, boys and girls. Be aware of your surroundings, okay? I started hearing ice falling off my roof, well, like Saturday, I think it was, you know, when we had that warm-up. And I'll tell you what, when I see a big chunk of ice ready to fall off my roof, I either get out the hard hat and the stepladder and try and get it off myself, or avoid it completely, because that crap will kill you. We're talking 2-3 inch thick ice in some places. Yep, well, that was the end of that one. Oh, and a guy got friggin' killed by gunshot over in Cambridge, over near Penisburg, Todd.
Yeah.
Yeah, Michael Haynes, 39, been shot, body found around 3 a.m. Let's see. The suspect remains unknown. Autopsy is expected to perform today. In today's news, they said that there was somebody else there at the time of the shooting, but they're not a suspect. It's like nobody's in danger, so that means it was either a private beef, a drug deal, who the hell knows. It's one of those things. Oh, and get this one. These Flatlanders came up here from Darien, Connecticut. Andrew Harib, H-R-Y-B. Harib? Come on, people. We got plenty of vowels in the English language. Pick a few. Throw them in your last name, you know. The hell. Use a Scrabble board. It makes life interesting. Andrew Harib, 36, and his brother had gone out of bounds at Stowe and became disoriented. They tried to find their way out, went about 1.5 miles from a lift on Spruce Peak, and they came to an ice climbing route. It appears as though Andrew Hiraib lost his footing while trying to look over the edge of a 220-foot cliff and fell. Okay, buckwheat. No. First of all, if you can see enough that it's a cliff, stay away from it, especially if you're wearing skis. They're not like the best thing to be, crawling around to the edge of cliffs with. Just a thought, okay? State police were alerted 6:30 p.m. Saturday. Took 2 hours from Stowe Mountain Rescue, Colchester Technical, Cambridge Fire, and the Army Mountain Warfare School to find Haraib. His brother was uninjured and was assisted out by rescue crews. Mac, you can hide behind that curtain, but we know you're there. You're not fooling anyone. We know you're there. Damn fool. He's gone. Oh, and old comrade Chris walked off the set the other night. So Hairball with Chris Matthews is gone. Yep, that's it for old Hairball. Hairball cops up, and he's gone. He be gone. And did you know that Mr. Flav, his clock is trademarked?
Yeah, I did know that, actually.
What?
It's come up before. He's sued people for his likeness or whatever before.
You put an alarm clock on a necklace, and that's your trademark?
Sure.
Well, I guess in the hood, maybe you could get a real big one and have it made out of Kevlar, so that way if you get shot, you don't get hurt. Yeah, Matthews retires, cites comments to women. Now, he says, this is insane. He said that compliments on a woman's appearance that some men, including me, he's 73, mind you, including me, might have incorrectly thought we're okay. We're never okay. Not then, and certainly not today. And for making such comments in the past, I'm sorry. It's one thing, I've commented, even people here in the studio, well, the girl's about my age, and it's one thing to say, did you do something different with your hair? It looks nice that way, something like that. You don't go all lech and say, like, where have you been all my life? And I guess this girl was in a makeup chair and get ready to go on the air, and he was being all weird with her and stuff. Longtime MSNBC DNC host Chris Matthews abruptly retired from his Hairball show on Monday, apologizing for making comments following a brutal week where he also took heat for some supporters of Sanders and Warren. Yeah, he said that Sanders taking the primaries was like Hitler invading France in 1940 or some damn thing. It's like, what the hell, man? He opened his program, here it was. His exit came after a week of discussion with his bosses, 3 days after GQ ran a column by a freelance journalist about her own sexist run-in with Matthews in the makeup room. He opened his program Monday and talking in his familiar staccato style that he was ending his run on the show he had started in 1997. After a commercial break, he was replaced in the anchor chair by a shaking Steve Kornacki. Shaken, not stirred. Yeah, Flab. Public Enemy kicked him out. They kicked him out of Public Enemy following a spat over a decision to support Bernie at an event in L.A. We'll be moving forward without Flav, said the band. A dispute kicked off when Flabby and his attorney sent a cease and desist order to Sanders' campaign. And they'd used Flabby's unauthorized likeness, image, and trademark clock. Oh, man. Oh, yeah. The Turks have opened the border into Greece. The Greeks are going nuts. People are swarming there. They're having live fire exercises. Well, it won't be long now because these people are going to be shot. A lot of them have no paperwork. They're not refugees. They just want to get them to Europe for some of that free cheese, man. They know there's plenty of free cheese in Europe, just like there is in the United States. Oh, and speaking of which, I got the Bernie thing. Now, we can expect, okay, because Bernie, just like Trump, he's a disruptor, okay? And people want him to shake things up. They're sick of business as usual, a la Joe Biden. And so anyways, you can expect the long knives to come out for Bernie. And this is mostly immigration stuff here. I got a whole bunch of it. But it says, here it is. They got, on one page, they got knives for Trump. Trump says Pompeo will witness the signing of the deal with the Taliban, which they're already accusing them of breaking, because let's face it, I mean, the Taliban, it's like, I don't know, it's kind of like the Chamber of Commerce. I mean, yeah, they all pay dues or something to the same organization, but it's like the Chamber of Commerce in this part of Vermont, it has no affiliation with the Chamber of Commerce in Lubbock, Texas. You know what I mean? It's just the way it is. And soon you will see the mutts, I hope. But anyways, Sanders-linked group enter into a racial discrimination non-disclosure agreement. And they're all in there, oh, Bernie, see, he's racist. He told this girl to screw. Well, all she did, Toddster, was say stuff that Bernie was saying 10 years ago, right? Get this. The girl's name is Tesline Figaro. She sued Our Revolution in 2019. They settled out of court due to her race and retaliation for complaining about their treatment towards her and African Americans. It was settled out of court, undisclosed sum. Said Bernie's staff was accused of racism by black staffers and failed to engage the black voters and blah, blah, blah. And it goes on and on and on. We got stuff by blah, blah, everybody, the lawyers. Figaro was the director of racial justice for Sanders' 2016 campaign and worked on black outreach issues for Our Revolution. And then she settled out of court, blah, blah, blah. They can't comment. Let's see. She was brought there by Nina Turner. Here we are. Past comments by Figaro made about immigration on Twitter as a pundit on Fox News quickly surfaced and drew rebuke, which the critics say, Our Revolution staffers say that we're anti-immigrant. No, they're not anti-immigrant. Nobody in this country is anti-immigrant. You are looking right now at the son of an immigrant. I'm the nephew of immigrants. I am the brother of an adopted immigrant. Nobody in this country minds immigrants. Provided you come here, learn the language, and come here legally, and then learn the language and whatever, you know. Well, we don't want illegal immigrants or legal immigrants, for that matter, coming in here and going immediately on the dole. See the Jack Russells guarding the crop. If you watch them, they go in concentric circles. They're, people say terriers aren't watchdogs, but they are. And there's old Spike in the background. And they go back and forth. And they could be off running and chasing animals, but they're not. They're there guarding us to keep us safe from, God knows what.
Bears.
Bears, yeah.
Bottle-eating bears.
Yeah, blame the bears, man. And so anyways, get this. Let's see. Here's what she said. If American black folks can go to jail when they break the law, then certainly so can an illegal immigrant, she said in one tweet. And like I've said a million times before, if I ever get jammed up, I don't want any special treatment. Just treat me like an illegal alien. They get shuffled out of the back door of the courthouse. Did you hear the one about the ICE detainer in California last week? They tried to put a detainer on this guy in some local court, I think it was in L.A., and they wouldn't turn him over because it was a sanctuary policy. And lo and behold, a few weeks later, he's busted now for raping a 3-year-old girl in a public restroom, Toddster.
3?
Nice. 3. A 3-year-old girl. Or molesting, I should say. I don't know about rape, but you can look it up on the interweb. It's just insane. You're being distracted about illegal immigrants. Meanwhile, more blacks are under prison and parole in 2010 that were enslaved in 1850, and that's true. Figaro, who had long worked as a consultant to Turner, publicly apologized but was fired. And Our Revolution was aware of her past comments when she was hired, according to the lawsuit. And here we go again. She defended herself by noting her comments echoed what Sanders had previously said. Now, here's what Bernie said not 10 years ago. If poverty is increasing and wages are going down, I don't know why we need millions of people to be coming into this country as guest workers who will work for lower wages than the American workers and drive wages down even lower than they are now, Sanders said in an 2007 TV interview, explaining why he opposed a bipartisan immigration bill. Because he was right. He was right then, he's wrong now. Now he wants to throw open the borders, let them all in, and give them free medical care, and give them reparations for the time they've spent in detention when they got caught coming here illegally. Oh, sure. I'm sure everybody in this audience, all three of you, everybody agrees that we should work and pay our taxes so that someone can come here illegally and immediately get all the benefits that are entitled citizens to. That's insane. In 2016, black staffers were hired, blah, 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 to reach out and do African, but they said they weren't taken seriously. They were sent to do other tasks, like driving people around instead of courting the black voters. Sanders said he wanted to win. Oh, here's a good Spike shot right here. Here he is. He goes up on the hill. He's still guarding us. And then he's looking around. He's looking around. He's just hanging out and doing his thing. Meanwhile, Mac, the younger dog, he's running around at our feet, sniffing this, sniffing that. There he is. There he does the yawn. Quick smile, and comes running back down the hill to see what Mac's after. Anyways, people will say it's not a racial issue, said John Solomon. But if I'm hired to gain support from African Americans, you direct me to do something other than outreach, what are we doing? T.O. Bernie. Uncle Bernie, they're calling him. And speaking of which, terror fuels Mexican migrations. You know, Mexico has degraded into a narco state so bad, thanks, Toddster, that the cops are turning into criminals. I mean, they've always been like that, right? Now, I told you this before. I used to drive down the road along the cliffs. It's like a freeway. There's 2 lanes in each direction, right, Toddster? And it goes all the way along the coast from Tijuana down to Ensenada. A beautiful road. long sweeping curves, no potholes, I mean, they really did this highway up right. And what I would do is if I got pulled over for speeding, I would give the cop like $20, which was a lot of money back then, right? And the cop would radio ahead to the other cops and say that I was coming. He would even mention the fact that I was coming, and he would, there's Mackie, and he would actually pay, he would split the pay with the other cops, you know? And that's the way it was. It was a lot, in some ways it's better than, you know, in the United States, you have to go to court, you got to pay the fine, then you got to pay higher insurance fees. I mean, the justice down there is quicker. But now it's getting just out of control. Here we are. Juarez, Mexico. Valeria was working at a small tiendita in southern Michoacan when a young man she knew from the neighborhood came up to buy a cigarette. See, they sell Lucy's, no taxes there. Seconds later, a truck full of armed men stopped in front of the shop. They grabbed the young man and left. Valeria ran to the man's wife, Lo Leventron, she said. They took him. He was found dead later that day. Valeria, asked her real name wasn't used, said the police then came to her door and warned her. People say you saw. So the next day, the family member received a message that she would be next. Before the week was over, her family was packed and headed for the border. Like thousands in Mexico in recent months, they fled a combustible mix of crime and poverty in the hopes of making it to the Los Estados Unidos. Yeah, great. Oh, sure, come on up. We got plenty of room. No. Imagine if the cops did that here, Toddster. Imagine if you drove down the street and the cops pulled you over and said, hey, you know, I can either write you a ticket or you can pay me money right now. Or imagine if, try the Mac cam, Todd. See if you can get him. Okay, no. It was just one of our employees, Mac. She had to go home. She'll be back next time. Yeah, you're still a good boy. So anyways, imagine if they did that here. You know what would happen? There would be a revolt, man. We wouldn't put up with that because that's the way we are. You know, I mean, sure, our cops don't make a hell of a lot of money, but we require like one thing. I mean, honesty. You know what I mean? Well, except for that one cop who used to work in Newport. He got away with perjury, but that was the old DA. What was his name? Franklin or something? He let him off, didn't even mention anything, nor did the judge, when they should have thrown his butt off the force then. I'll tell you, here's a story. I think this was a personal vendetta. When I grew up in Lunenburg, Mass., right, we had a cop named, like, we used to call him Polly, like Polly Want a Cracker, right? And I never really knew what happened because I was probably like 10 years old when this happened in the 60s. And we had a big town forest. We had a Boy Scout cabin down there. A beautiful creek ran through the land, and the Boy Scout cabin was great. We had rows of bunk beds, a fireplace at one end, a kitchen wood stove at the other. We'd go in there on skis or snowshoes and cut wood and camp out. It was great, man. It was great. And then after JFK got killed, they burned it down in the 60s. They cut it up to burn it for fire. Nuts. So anyways, this cop, he was a real weasel. And I don't know what he was up to, but he was up to no good. So somebody called in a report that there was a big party or something going on at the town forest when they knew that this guy was on duty, right? So he goes, he hopped in the cruiser. He's going to go down there and take care of it, right? So he goes down there, and he comes across there's a log in the road. So he gets out of the cruiser, and next thing he hears this crash, and then there's a log behind him, right? So now he can't go forward and he can't go backwards, right? Next thing you know, gunshots start ringing out. They riddled the cruiser with holes from a .30 caliber rifle. That's all they said. It was probably 30-30s because, I mean, somebody put about 50 bullet holes in the cruiser. And they found this guy on the floorboards of the cruiser, shaking like a leaf, screaming for backup, right? And, well, that was the end of little Officer Pollywog. I mean, we wouldn't put up with that here. There would be necktie parties. I mean, you know. But in Mexico, Hell no. You know why they don't do that in Mexico, Todd? Because they can't own guns, okay? An armed society is a polite society, and you can't pull this kind of crap in an armed society. It's just that simple, okay? And now they want to take our guns away? Oh, I'm going to put Beto O'Rourke in charge of gun control. And speaking of gun control, look at this. Milwaukee. You know that guy that shot up the brewery last week, Toddster? Yeah, he was a crazy Negro. This crazed Negro, and he shot Jesus, Toddster. Unbelievable. He shot Jesus. His name was Ferrell, F-E-R-R-I, Anthony N. Ferrell, 51, worked as an electrician for more than 20 years, 17 of them at the brewery. And the victims were Jesus Valley, Jr. of Milwaukee, Gennady Levshets, Hoy of Mequon, Trevor Wetzler of Milwaukee, Dana Walk, and Dale Hudson. A co-worker said that he said anonymously that Farrell believed he was being discriminated against because he was black, and that he frequently argued with at least one of the victims, a fellow electrician. The co-worker said that the Negro, Farrell, frequently watched movies on his phone during the day, which the other electricians took issue with. Well, no kidding. You've got work to do and you got this black guy watching movies on his phone all day? Oh, okay. No problem there. We don't want to report him to HR because, then we'd be accused of discrimination. And the two accused each other of going into each other's offices and stealing tools or tampering with computer equipment. Well, that happens in every shop. A lot of it's, just tomfoolery, but I don't know about this instance. About a year ago, the employee said, Farrell started saying he believed that the workers were coming into his home, bugging his computer, and moving his furniture around. Okay, then. Can you say paranoia, boys and girls? There's old Spike. What a good dog he was. I said, are you serious, Anthony? Say what? We all kind of joked about it, but he was dead serious. I had no idea there was a problem. He seemed fine when I last saw him earlier in the week. And, geez Louise. The neighbor who lived in the neighborhood for 11 years said she feels terrible. If you're mad at someone, talk it out. Don't shoot it out. He was a licensed industrial journeyman electrician, a member of the union, blah, blah, blah. He said they were sneaking into his home, bugging his computer, and moving his furniture around. Okay, no problem there. And here we are. This is why, I don't care what you think about Trump. I don't care what you think about the Supreme Court picks. But if it wasn't for this guy and we had liberals on the Supreme Court, this bums rush at the border would be turned into a national nightmare. And instead of having 20 to 30 million here illegally, we'd have 100 million here illegally. It's getting out of hand. We're overtaking this planet, and it's getting out of hand. Oh, anyways. So finally, they're gonna have to make a decision on this Remain in Mexico thing, because the Ninth Circuit Court, of course, the liberal appeals court in San Francisco, tried to put the bite on this Trump policy to keep the asylum people in Mexico, and they came up and they put the bite on it, and then they came out like hours later and said, well, we're not going to really do the stay. So the Trump people can do what they want. And here we are. Court backs Trump in sanctuary fight. Again, this is by the Second Circuit Court of Appeals in Manhattan, overturned a lower court's decision. because that's it. We're all done. We're done with this stuff. You can come here legally, but if you can't come here legally, and I'll tell you what, if you do come here legally and you're on a green card and you're just here on a visa or whatever, and you're taking food stamps and Section 8 and all these other government programs, well, no, you're not going to get your citizenship because we have enough poor people here that need these benefits. We can't just throw open the doors like Bernie wants to do now. I mean, the guy's done an about face. It just kills me. Anyways, it overrules the lower court's decision. New York City and 7 states. They're gonna drop the money. It's all like, okay, you people want to violate federal law. You want to be sanctuary cities. Then you're gonna have to forego the federal funding. Reagan started that in the 1980s with the drinking law. They said, all right, great. You want to have 18, the drinking age, instead of 21? Then forget about your highway funding. And it's funny that Reagan could do it then, but Trump can't do it now. And here's the last but not least. Ritorno della Cipollio pronto.
Yeah. You said my name?
Yeah, and not that pronto.
Oh.
Immigration floods U.S. High Court. Trump's 3-year crackdown on immigration has led to a surge of lawsuits reaching the Supreme Court, where a rebuilt conservative majority is paying dividends for him. Not for him, for American people, the people who elected him, and the people who are going to re-elect him, because, like I said, we'll open the doors to legal immigrants, but no, you're not going to. Nobody likes a person who cuts in line. Have you ever been in line at a movie or a restaurant or something, Todd, and have somebody jump to the front of the line?
Yeah.
I mean, did you think that was fair or kosher or,
No.
you know?
People are just,
Dicks.
yeah. Yeah.
They're dicks. And I'll tell you what, in some places I've seen people jump in a line. Like we were waiting all night for concert tickets one time, and at the last minute these people showed up when they started opening the windows to sell the tickets. These guys showed up and tried to jump in line. Well, they got their butts kicked, man. There are people who have been waiting there for all night long and half the day before that. And it's like, no, oh no. Mm-hmm. They got a couple black eyes and some loose teeth, mister. There's been a massive onslaught by groups opposed to post-immigration enforcement. A handful of federal district courts have distorted immigration law. No kidding. And Neil Gorsuch helped strike down a vague law subjecting non-citizens who commit violent crimes to deportation. Oh, imagine that. You want to deport violent criminals back to where they come from. How dare you? I mean, they're only violent criminals. Like Nancy Pelosi says, we're all God's children. We're all children in the eyes of God. Just because they're violent criminals doesn't make them bad, right? Oh, man. You gotta be kidding me. And, oh, here we are. Don't you just love Dear Abby? There's a fire sign theater thing about how you get up, do productivity within, you have so many meter readers times so many postal workers equals X amount of jobs, and then they say, did you remember to carry the bum? Well, here we are. This guy's got a 30-year-old kid who's been living in his house for 5 years, stays up all night, won't get a job. He's probably getting money from mommy. And you know, they're okay with that. Dear Abby, my wife and I have been married for 25 years, and I love her so very much. When we first met, she had 2 young boys, 2 and 7. For the most part, I helped raise them. In the late 90s and early 2000s, we traveled around the country with our business. What, were you carnival barkers? I mean, were you selling cotton candy at state fairs? I don't get it. But anyways, we'll take him at his word. The boys went back to their father for a few years. When we sold the business, they came back to live with us. We found them been changed. They were into drugs and gangster lifestyles. They are now 30 and 35 years old. The oldest has carved out a wonderful life, but the younger, Robbie, has continued doing drugs. A few years ago, we agreed to take him in to see if he could help. See if we could help, and he's still there. Yeah. He's not worked or even looked for a job in 5+ years. He stays in his bedroom and watches TV, stays up until 4 or 5 every night, and gets up around 1 or 2 p.m. I don't think he's doing drugs anymore, but I'm not sure. Well, look, buddy, I do the same thing, and I did the same thing most all my life. But I had a job. There's a thing called second shift, and they actually pay people a premium for working it because a lot of people don't like second shift or third. Some people, like yours truly, did. I loved it, and I got paid more to do it. And when after all the neckties and business suits go home and engineers at 5 o'clock, you actually get more work done without them around, breathing down your neck. Unbelievable. I've tried to talk to my wife about setting boundaries, telling him it's time he gets a job, and he just can't keep living with us and not even looking for one. But it always ends up in a disagreement, i.e. fight. I offered Robbie a list of 10 ideas of jobs he might like. Well, there you go. Get him a book called Night as Frontier, if he can read, provided he can read. That was a great book about, night being the final frontier. And when you're on a night shift, you meet other people on night shifts. There's legions of people who work nights, from cops to bakers to nurses and medical people.
Prostitutes.
Yeah, that's mostly a third shift kind of thing. But yeah, yeah, they're usually going home about 6 or 8 a.m. I prefer to get off work about 1 or 2 a.m. Thank you very much. Yeah, and I gave him a book called Your Best Self. He never even picked it up. I don't know what to do anymore. I've almost left my wife over him. We're in our 60s and it's getting harder. Oh, really? Is it getting harder? She defends everything he does, so it's impossible to have a productive conversation about any of this. His older brothers become frustrated as well. I don't see any end in the future. Desperate stepdad. Dear Desperate, addiction is a family disease. Now, wait a minute. He says, Mac Cam, try the Mac Cam. Toddster, try the Mac Cam. Oh, damn it, he's out of range. What?
There's his feet.
What in the hell? What are you doing, Goofy? Oh, yeah. Here's a clue. Get a clue. Throw him out. Throw him out. And, oh, God, where's that other one? And they have this thing called the Young Writers Project. Or as I like to call it, the Young Whiners Project. I'll get to that, but here we are.
You know what I don't understand about that story that you just read? And I know some of it has to do with like financial blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
When I was 18, in fact, when I was 17, I couldn't wait to get out of my parents' house.
Yeah.
I wanted to get an apartment, party.
Yeah.
I was out by 17 because I graduated at 17.
Yeah, I moved out. I graduated at 17 also, and I would have turned 18 in July, and I was out on work study. Well, we called it work release from the trade school or reform school or whatever, and it was the same thing. I couldn't wait. Me and my buddy Kevin, the electrician, we're still good buddies. We got an apartment. It had a pool. I could walk across the highway and down over the railroad tracks and go to work, It was great. I couldn't wait to get out.
Yeah.
And, oh, man. And speaking of which, talk about mommy who'll do anything for baby. Mother of former Good Times Gallery on her sentence. She was the one who hired somebody to smear dog poop on the store next to him because they testified the guy was selling weed, even though weed's legal now. It's like, wait a minute, honey. What's up? Mother of former Good Times Gallery owner sentenced, who sold weed out of his downtown shop, has been sentenced for conspiring. These are federal charges, man. Donna Mahar of Danvers spent 6 months on home detention, 3 years super, a $10,000 fine. Her kid, Derek Spellman, 45, was sentenced to 29 months in federal prison for conspiring to deal weed, possessing firearms, and conspiring to obstruct justice. Now, see, even though weed's legal statewide, the feds can come in and bust you for selling weed. And even if you have a gun, you have no crimes, no history or everything, you have that gun legally. But because weed is still illegal federally, you can get busted for being a drug user and having guns. Isn't that sweet? Insane. Fed said that after his initial arrest, he tried to intimidate a witness, a neighboring business owner, by smearing dog feces on the business door. Mahar and Spillman enlisted the help of family member Derek of Villiers to take credit for the witness tampering. She cut his hair to better match her kids, gave him money to buy a jacket that matched the one he wore the night of his actions, and vandalized the storefront with dog poopy. Wow. Man, that's quite the mother, man. Oh, and this woman, I don't know if I did this. The NASA pioneer died at 101. And see, science is colorblind, okay? And racism is dead. And this is why I am so glad that Trump increased NASA's budget by 16% or more, because Obama cut it. Obama took the money to give away Obama phones to poor people. Why they need an Obama phone, I don't know. But anyways, this woman, Katherine Johnson, the venerated NASA mathematician who is depicted in the film Hidden Figures, died at 101. She helped our nation enlarge the frontiers of space, even as she made huge strides that opened the doors for women and people in color. No, well, yes and no, okay, because we've seen this. It was pioneering in the 60s, but now it doesn't matter. All my life I've worked with people of all colors and persuasions, as long as you could do the job. If you could do the job and you did good work, you had no problem. No problem. Nobody cared who you were. Were you gay, straight, black, white? Nobody, it don't matter anymore. But now certain political parties are interested in bringing back these old divisions. Yeah, look at this hillside. We used this hillside. This was, mind you, this is right out in the open, Toddster. I mean, people walk in and out of this place and never even noticed it. These giant shrubs on the hill, they just look like bushes to the average person.
That's great.
Oh, yeah. Like my buddy Mika used to say, the most obvious, least suspected. Her groundbreaking contributions to bring Americans in space were plenty. She worked on the first mission to put the first American in space, Alan Shepard, and then in '62 she did the calculation that did the second man in space, the guy who orbited the planet, John Glenn. Both of which were outdone by us, which the Russians got there first. The Russians had the first person in space, had the first woman in space, had the first person to orbit the planet. I mean, the Russians were kicking our butt, man. And it's good to see Trump give the money back. Per NASA, Glenn entrusted Johnson to calculate the trajectories by hand more than the state-of-the-art computers at the time, which are prone to breaking down. Well, also, she had to do on-the-spot calculations because something went wrong with John Glenn's heat shield, and he had to come in early, and they were worried about the thing burning up. I mean, that is quite the story. And anyway, the Young Whiners Project. The marginalized. Oh, maybe it's nothing personal. And kids leave you out at recess and you get pushed down and the gravel burns your palms like fire and oh my God.
So you're approaching 10 minutes, just to let you know.
Okay, this is a good one here. The Young Whiners Project. Who's the problem? Well, we're the problem. You want to stop the problem? Stop breeding. On this, I forgot the Rolling Stone toss. There's a great article in there about the plastics industry, and we got to make them stop. We got to make them stop making plastic soda bottles. We've got to return to aluminum. It's the only thing that truly gets recycled. Because all they do with the plastic bottles, they don't recycle them. They burn them, man. They burn them in trash to energy facilities, which are the equivalent of coal plants and emissions. Here we are. Why is the Amazon on fire? In Australia, enormous glaciers are melting, the ocean's rising, places are flooding. We're seeing anomalies in genetics, especially domesticated animals due to inbreeding and radiation from battles in buildings. Radiation from battles in buildings? Hello? What's that mean? I don't get it. I'm going to have to think about that one. Radiation from battles in buildings. We got radiation. The biggest problem we got has been from Fukushima, the damn Japanese. Inbreeding radiation from battles in buildings is killing animals and humans. Extreme weather patterns of freezing blizzards, boiling heat waves. The extinction list is growing with hundreds of species going extinct every day. Heat's being trapped in Earth's temperatures, causing the temperatures to rise. Ecosystems are being destroyed because of oil and gas and fracking. Okay, well, you can take a cold shower next time, and you can live in an underground building at a constant 50 degrees because we don't have any heat. I don't know what to tell you, man. It's not going to come from windmills and solar panels. Plastics polluting our oceans with 8 to 12 million tons thrown in each year. Well, thank the Chinese for that. We sent all of our crap to China to be recycled. They wound up just throwing it into the rivers. Wait till you read this Rolling Stone article, Todd. It's insane. It should be on the web within a week. It's unbelievable. It's a long-form article. Recycling is not organized enough to the point that even recyclers are being placed in landfills. True. Let's see. Billions of trees are being cut down each year, depleting our oxygen and our habitats. Again, we can get more fiber for paper and stuff from hemp than you do from cutting down trees for paper, but that's still a long way off because of the damn...
And it grows back a hell of a lot quicker.
Yeah. Lots of water is being wasted. The water is already scarce. Not in New England, it ain't. And creatures need water to live. Enormous structures are being built, taking many resources and homes away. New issues have begun to occur very recently and with more frequency. But water by whom? What's the problem? We are the problem. Macy Steiner, 14, Burlington. You know, and you wonder why the kids are committing suicide, okay? You wonder why we got a teenage suicide rate? Because this is the stuff you're teaching these kids. Not that tomorrow's going to be better. Not that if you get good at math or science, you might be able to devise a solution to these problems. Not to get active and maybe, petition people to shut down these plastic bottles. This started with that crying Indian ad. Remember, we can keep America beautiful? That was paid for by the damn soft drink industry. When I was a kid, it was all glass or cans. I mean, and both could be returned or recycled. But, oh, hell no. This plastic stuff is getting out of hand. It's got to stop. And they're blaming it on us. Well, you people don't recycle enough. Well, no, the deposit should be at least 10 cents or 25 cents, and it should be, like I said, made out of aluminum because aluminum is valuable enough to be recycled easily.
You know what cracks me up about that whole thing? In Vermont, and not all states are like this, if it's not carbonated, you can't recycle it. So if you have seltzer water in a plastic bottle,
yep,
you can get your deposit on it. If you have water in a plastic bottle, throw it away. There's no deposit on it. And the literal difference is carbonation.
Yeah. And then the same thing.
And a lot of people drink water now. So.
Yeah.
It's weird to me.
And it's stupid because, I mean, your tap water is probably the same as the bottled crap. It's just nothing, man. It's insane. And the carbonated stuff, and it's like the ban on styrofoam, okay? They can't do anything with styrofoam, and they go, we'll get rid of the clamshell things from the fast food outfits. Well, that's great, but what about the meat? Every piece of meat you buy comes with a friggin' a period pad underneath it, and it comes in a styrofoam container which can never be recycled. Yet they left them out of the whole law. You know, what the hell? That's the influence of the Grocers Association. They are one of the biggest obstacles. They're one of the biggest lobbyists in Montpelier. And they're horrible people, dude. Horrible. And speaking of which, Burlington, Vermont, they want to take this old ferry that's, been crossing the lake for years and years, Toddster, and instead of sending it down to Staten Island to be cut up and recycled, they want to sink it offshore so that the divers can have a place to go diving and create an artificial reef or some stupid thing. And then come to find out, they mention the inflow and intake and outflow pipes, which are really close to each other, because the little known secret in Burlington is that the crap pipe goes out practically the same distance as the water intake pipe. So you people are drinking your own crap. It's insane.
Perfect.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, here we are. It has to be blanketed with just enough silt, about 6 feet, to allow it to settle and stabilize. And 2, it has to keep a safe distance from municipal pipes for water intake and treated wastewater. Well, except when you get a heavy rain, then the wastewater is untreated. It just goes splooging right into Lake Champlain. And with the homeless people in their camps, I'm sure they have plenty of porta potties around there and stuff, right? Oh, yeah. Yeah. Great. I was over in Burlington one time, and we went to this restaurant, and I sat down, I got a glass of water. I almost coughed it up. It was the most horrible drinking water I've ever had on the East Coast. And that's saying something. And speaking of
3
which,
minutes.
3 minutes?
3.
Okay. And here we are. What's in Vermont's weed? Yeah, they want to make sure you test it, but what? I'll tell you, you know what's in my weed? The same stuff that's in my jams and jellies and pies and everything else I've ever made. Not then, because people know I grow it organically. I always have. You got to have a relationship with your grower. Oh, that's right, you can't sell it. So you could sell a bag you can sell a baggie for $40 or $50, and the weed is free. And here we are.
Well, it's plastic, so it's going to be costing more soon.
Yeah. I'm going to have paper bags from now on. Here we are. And they all smell money. Oh, they can taste the money in Montpelier. Oh, doctor, you can smell the money. And Phil Scott says, no, not until we have a roadside saliva test. Even though they're notoriously unreliable, they don't work, and they prove nothing. But he's firm in it, old Injun Phil. And because if you watch Injun Phil, his nose is getting bigger and bigger and redder and redder. He's like Pinocchio. Instead of lying with Governor Scott, the more he drinks, the bigger his nose gets, just like W.C. Fields and J.P. Morgan. Vermont House passes bill to regulate pot sales. Oh, sure. If enacted, those wishing to establish a cannabis business be applying for licenses as soon as January 15th, 2022. Ah, there's Johnny on the spot, right, Toddster? It's only 2 years away. In the meantime, what do?
Go to Massachusetts.
Yeah, right. You can get some of the finest skunk grown right up here in our own backyards. Oh, no. We don't want to do that, mister. That makes way too much sense. How close are we to designer reefer? Genetic testing holds some promise, predicting that a plan be interact with human.
Yay.
No, do it the old-fashioned way. It's like breeding cows or dogs or anything else. You get good ones and bad ones, and, you don't breed the bad ones, you breed the good ones.
You got about a minute.
All right. Last but not least, they're selling Bernie stuff. 5 things to know about Bernie Sanders in Vermont. And they never mention the fact that Bernie passed an inventory tax when he was mayor of Burlington, which made all the businesses that had warehouses full of items on their shelves pay an inventory tax. So every business that had parts or whatever as part of their sales and whatever fled to Williston or South Burlington. You know, but they never mention that. And here's a Bernie doll. And when you pull the string, you know what he says, Todd? I never held a real job in my life. Never had a real job. Imagine that. All my life. Just insane. And, all right, last but not least, Biden rides momentum into Super Tuesday. That's right. It's a horse race now. And remember, his kid needs more crack. Hunter needs more crack. So vote for Joe, 3033010, something like that. And it's great to be.
Bloomberg dropped out today?
Who?
Bloomberg.
Yeah, Bloomberg.
He's out.
Spent $500 million. $500 million, man. Okay, come on up, Fetzo. Once again, you wasted a perfectly good hour of your life watching this stupid show. And hopefully, there you are, Mac. Hopefully, we'll see you again next week, inshallah. Good Lord willing, and the creek don't rise. Until then, get down on your hands and knees in the men-only mosque. Sniff the bum of the guy in the man dressed next to you. Head east and say, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Akbar. Hey, you missed it with your proper spike right there.
Indians scattered on dawn's highway bleeding. Ghosts crowd the young child's fragile eggshell mind. Blood in the streets in the town of New Haven. Blood stains the roofs and the palm trees of Venice. Blood in my love in the terrible summer. Bloody red sun of fantastic LA.